So as I was thinking about the theme for today's class, I was remembering the poem "Now is the Time" by Hafiz, which many of you may be familiar with. And typically I think of this poem and I read this poem around the holidays. But I think it's an incredible poem to read any time because the meaning of it is going to shift and change depending on the now moment that you're in. And as I was thinking about it, of course, I couldn't remember the poem verbatim, but when I read it this morning, it's like, yeah, really important. Now is really the time. Now, meaning the present moment, is what we've got to work with. So all of the healing that we are doing occurs in the now moment. We can't go back and change the stuff that happened back there that we may be carrying around, or the ancestral stuff, or the whatever. We can't go back there. And we can't, from our 3D perspective, and we can't go forward and, be Sarah Connor and fix something in the future. We can't do that. But where the healing occurs is now, in the present moment, which is why this practice of becoming aware on the physical, mental, and emotional levels and what you're feeling is so key, because it helps give you that information that you need to see, where am I? What am I going to do with this information? Am I going to sit with it? Can I sit with it and allow it to be right here in this moment and allow the healing to occur that way? Or are you going to make a different choice? Are you catching yourself having thoughts that are no longer serving you or anybody else they may be directed to? So in the now moment, you choose differently, right? So everything, all of the healing, all of the stuff, we're really being summoned to recognize how important it is to be present in our lives, be present in our bodies and our hearts, and do our work from this place. So it feels just really like, yeah, I'm going to read this poem from Hafiz called "Now is the Time." Now is the time to know that all that you do is sacred. Now, why not consider a lasting truce with yourself and God? Now is the time to understand that all your ideas of right and wrong were just a child's training wheels to be laid aside when you can finally live with veracity and love. Hafiz is a divine envoy whom the Beloved has written a holy message upon. My dear, please tell me, why do you still throw sticks at your heart and God? What is it in that sweet voice inside that incites you to fear? Now is the time for the world to know that every thought and action is sacred. This is the time for you to deeply compute the impossibility that there is anything but grace. Now is the season to know that everything you do is sacred. So powerful. And as you sit with those words now, how does that feel at this moment in your own life? What are those words? What meaning do they take on for you now? So rich. So just let your eyes close and settle into your seat. And check in with yourself on this Friday morning in October. How does your physical body feel? Is there any residue from the night? Residue from a day or two ago that's in the present moment in your body? How are you doing on the mental level today? Are you a little foggy yet from the night's sleep? Or are the thoughts just coming kind of fast and fierce and furious? Is somewhere in between? Is there a quality or tone or theme in your thoughts so far today? Is there an emotion that you're carrying with you at this particular time, right now? And if you identify a specific emotion that you may be feeling and experiencing, how does it feel in your body? So just being able to hone in, tune in on that kind of awareness is giving us the structure to do our healing in the present moment, in the physical, the mental, the emotional. So bring your hands to prayer position in front of your heart. And just take a moment to offer yourself some love and some acceptance here. This whole thing, this whole Earth School thing is, it's not for the faint of heart. Feel free to hold your own specific intention based on whatever information you just gathered, how you're feeling, thinking in your present moment. And when you feel that your intention is set, take your time to let your eyes open. Namaste. All right, thanks for coming today, everybody. So we're going to start on our backs and have nearby a block and a strap, okay? How lovely is it? I'm just so pleased that we get to come together like this and move our bodies around, it's incredible that we've got this vehicle to work with, and I'm just feeling especially grateful to be able to do this with y'all. So come on down to your back. We'll just start kind of simply, arms out in a T position. Walk the feet about as wide as your mat, and we'll just do some windshield wipers because it just feels so good. Drop your knees over to the right. Inhale to center and over to the left. Yeah, so just feel free to move to the rhythm and pace of your own breath. The inhale brings the knees up. The exhale drops them to the side. Start to incorporate some Ujjayi breath. And the next time that your knees are back over to the right side, take your right foot and rest it just outside and above your left knee. So you give the left leg a little rooting down. And with that going on, you might turn your head to look to the left. Just to create a little deeper spinal twist there. Keeping your toes nice and active. And come back up to center. Let's uncross the feet, and then with the feet wide, again, drop the knees over to the left. Take your left foot just outside and above the right knee, spread the toes, and just give the leg just a little gentle encouragement to move down, turning your head to look to the right. And just see how this feels in your body. All right, and then bringing the legs back up to center. Set both feet on the floor about at your hip distance width, and take your arms up and over your head, Hold on to your elbows and just create just a little heart opening back bend kind of moment here. If it's a little much to hold the elbows, then feel free to try just holding the wrists. And if that's still too much because something's going on in the shoulders, you can just keep your arms in cactus. Now, keep your right foot where it is and just let your left leg just drop out to the side. So it's almost like your left leg wants to be in tree pose. Your right leg is still just kind of knee pointing out. Then slide along your right heel and go ahead and take your legs into a tree pose. With your legs in tree, push down a little bit toward the floor with your sitting bones and then pull your lower abdomen in and up as you try to press your right leg toward the floor. If it's on the floor, fine. You can press, you've got something to press against. If not, it's just moving in that general direction. And then bring the left knee back up, bend both knees again, and drop your right knee out to the right. It's like you're trying to kind of find your tree pose, but you don't quite have the left leg to press the foot into. And go ahead and slide the left leg all the way down, bringing the right foot up to that inner left thigh. Push the sitting bones down so you create a deeper arch in your lower back and then pull your lower abdomen in and up. Make sure that you have some weight in both buttocks there. And maybe that right leg is trying to either root toward the floor, or if it's touching the floor, maybe it's pressing down into the floor. Notice for yourself on each side. So if you're close to the floor, you might notice, okay, it felt like maybe that leg was a little higher. Not a judgment, it's just simply becoming aware of where your body is in this particular moment. And then you're going to bring that right knee back in, bend the legs, draw your knees in toward your chest now. And just give yourself a nice little roll from side to side. And we're going to roll forward and back now a little bit. So draw the knees in and then roll up, roll back, up. Just a little rock and rolling. And the next time you come up, see if you can balance on your sitting bones. You just take your hands behind your legs, pull your low back in and up, push the inner edges of the feet into one another. And just have this kind of supported kind of boat pose. Not a full boat, we're just kind of sitting here, but try to engage your belly and pull your low back in. And then bending the knees, just hover the feet above the floor. See if you can kind of shift the weight on your sitting bones and just keeping the feet hovering above the floor. Just try to keep the spine long. And then you're going to take your hands out from behind the legs. Just turn the palms up. Pull the belly in and up. Feet are still not on the floor. And then go ahead and set the feet down and hug back on your knees and your thighs so you can get a purchase there to pull your low back in and up. Roll your shoulders back a little bit. All right, and then release that. Come back down onto your back. Bend your knees, set your feet on the floor. And we're going to do a little rocking breath here. So this is it's almost like a baby cat-cow for your lower back. So with your feet about your hip distance width, push the sitting bones down and create that big arch in your low back and take a big inhale. And as you exhale, pull your low belly in and up, bringing your back almost to the floor, but not quite. Inhale, arch the back, push the sitting bones down deep in the hip creases. Exhale, pull the low belly in and up. You're not quite taking it into more of a cat shape. Inhale, push the sitting bones down. Exhale, pull the low belly in and up as the back comes closer to the floor. Now keep the abdomen strong and pulled in and up,
And then with your feet at your hip distance, just lift your hips up off of the floor, hugging your thighs in towards your midline like you're taking a little baby bridge variation, which you are. Arms just stay out in your T position, hugging the midline. And then lower your hips back down to the floor. All right, let's roll over onto the right side. Prop up on your right elbow. And you're going to stack your legs. And then we're going to take a little thigh stretch. So bend your left leg, see if you can take a hold of the foot, and just push the foot back into the hand and just slide the left leg back a little bit. So use your right leg as a kickstand. You can keep the leg bent. Pushing the foot back into the hand, and then maybe if it's available to you, you could bring your heel in a little closer to the hip. If it's not available yet, don't worry about it. And then we're going to pull the left knee in, take your hand inside of the leg and take a hold of the outer edge of the foot and take the leg up into Anantasana. So holding the edge of the foot, pull your left glutes a little more underneath you. See if you can get your left leg fairly vertical. Just be with that, whatever that stretch feels like. If it's too much, obviously keep your knee bent a little bit. That's totally fine. Or you just hold on in a different place in the leg with the hand. It was good, didn't it? All right, and then bend the knee. Go ahead and roll over to the other side. So coming onto your left side, you can prop up on the elbow. Knees bent. And then using your left leg as kind of a kickstand, you're going to reach for your right foot. Push into the foot into the hand and try to slide the thigh back in space as you push the foot back into the hand. So it does take you into a little bit of a back bend, but you have to kind of navigate to keep yourself balanced. And try not to let your left knee lift up off of the floor. I think I might have confused you with my rights and lefts there because I thought I was mirroring again, but I'm not. And then can we bring the right heel in a little bit closer to the outer hip? Little belly in and up. Completely your call as to whether or not this foot is even reachable. If it's not reachable, then maybe you just grab your pant leg or something instead. And then we're going to bring the knee in, reach the arm inside of the leg, take a hold of the edge of the foot, and take the leg straight up. Anantasana. And with the leg up, look, just have a peek at it. See if you can make it as vertical as possible without letting your body kind of fall backwards. And then scoop your right buttock underneath you. I know I've given you the wrong rights and lefts, but I know you're doing one side versus the other, so we're all good. All right, and then bend the leg and come back down onto your back and grab yourself a block. So we're going to put the block between the shins. So pick your feet up and you're going to put the block horizontally between your shins with your legs bent at about 90 degrees. Take your arms back out into your T position. Hug the block with your inner shins. Push your sitting bones down and then pull your belly up. And try to keep all of that strength in your core. And then you're going to take your legs about 45 degrees over to the right and back to center and to the left and back to center and to the right and back to center and to the left and back to center and to the right, and just hold it there for a moment. Try to keep your shoulders down, hug the block, pull your abdomen in and up, and back to center. And over to the left, 45 degrees, hug the block, pull your belly in and up. Try to keep the shoulders on the floor. And back to center. Okay, so take the block out from between your shins, and then if you'll grab a strap, we're going to configure the block between the feet and the strap around the whole thing. So take the block between your feet, I'm taking it narrow ways, just like that. And then the strap is going to go over the whole thing, like so. And then you have one strap in each hand, and you've got a spacer between your feet. All right, excellent. Now, once you got yourself there, hug the block with the inner edges of your feet, like you're trying to make kind of a dental impression there. Now push your feet away from you. Give yourself a little bit longer rein on the strap. Push your feet away from you. Push the sitting bones down, pull your belly in and up, and then see if you can bring the feet a little bit closer to your head, working the hamstrings a little bit more. Now let go of the strap. It can just hang there. Just let go of the strap, holding the block between your feet and hugging it. And then take your hands back to the strap and then let your block drop. Don't hurt yourself with it. Just take the block out and then widen your feet. So you make a nice V shape, and then press the edges of your feet out against the strap. Little abduction here. Push the sitting bones down again. Pull your low belly in and up again as you're pushing the feet out. And now with the legs in this shape, we're going to rock and roll forward and back again. So start to get some momentum. And then see if you can come up and balance on your sitting bones with this kind of wide-legged boat position, holding onto the straps. Pull the low back in and up. So you've got something to hold on to that'll give you a little bit of a purchase there. But again, you're just going to kind of balance on your sitting bones, try to pull the abdomen up, the sacrum up. Slide your feet in. Take your hands maybe a little closer to the feet. You might have to, kind of reposition the sitting bones to hold your weight in the supported boat pose. All right, now bend your knees and come back down onto your back. Now let's keep your right foot in the strap. Take your left leg down to the floor. And with both straps in your right hand, move that right leg around in a circle. And then take that leg out to the right side. So drop it out to the right completely. So you're in Supta Panangushtasana with the leg out to the side. Bring the right leg back through center and switch the straps into the left hand. Cross your right leg over to the left and try to keep your right shoulder on the floor. So we were working with this in class yesterday. All right, bring the leg back to center. Let's go ahead and switch feet. So take your left foot up, your right leg down, and with those straps in your left hand, just start to move this left leg around in a circle. Make sure that your right leg is nice and grounded. And eventually just take that left leg all the way out to the side. There you go. So nice grounding of your right leg. Just working with that nice inner thigh and hamstring stretch. And then bringing the leg back through center. Go ahead and switch the straps into your other hand and roll over onto your right hip as you cross your left leg over. Yeah, see how that goes today. I can feel that stretch moving all the way up and into the IT band, glutes. Great, and then bring the leg back to center. All right, let's go ahead and step out of the strap and then roll onto your belly. We'll come right into a Sphinx position. Come up onto your forearms, pointing your toes straight back. Settle into your chest. Pull back gently in your forearms and your hands. Just see what's happening in the shoulders, because you could be doing all this with your arms, but your shoulders might still be kind of creeping up towards your earlobes. So try to roll your shoulder heads back. Pull back in your forearms and your hands. Engage your abdomen, if you haven't yet. And then pressing into the hands, can you lift the elbows? Pull the hands back a little bit. Try to pull the curl a little deeper into the back. So it's like the bottom tips of the shoulder blades are coming a little deeper into the back of the rib cage. Do all of that, keeping that abdominal bracing. And then lower down. Rest your chin on your hands. Pick your feet up. Just flex and point your feet and circle your feet. With the ankle joint, a little bit of love. All right, now slide the hands alongside of your chest and press up to table. And just sit right back into an extended child's pose or puppy pose. So fingertips, the heels of the palms are lifted, and that just gives you a little bit more height for the shoulders, a little deeper stretch for the side ribs, pecs. Try to rotate your elbows and your triceps down toward the floor a little bit. And then come on up to table position. Okay, let's take your first down dog of the morning. We don't take a lot of these in this class, but sometimes we do. So go ahead and take a down dog. And feel free to now give yourself some stretch down through the back of the calves. Bending the knees. And then set your knees down. Take your right leg back behind you, toes pointing toward the floor, and your left arm out in front. So coming into a bird dog position. Pull the belly in and out. Now bring your right knee up towards your head and touch your right knee with your left elbow. Try to keep your right foot off of the floor. Work your abdomen. Re-extend back out into your bird dog position. Set your left hand down, bring your right toes to the floor, and then spin your right foot down and open up into almost like a side angle on your knee. So your left foot might angle out to the side a little bit if it feels like a better position to support yourself. Yeah. All right, good. And then bring both hands down, both knees down, and take your left leg back behind you. Right arm out in front. So finding this bird dog position on the other side, pulling the belly in and up. And then bending the left knee, bring it up towards your forehead, and then touch the knee with your right elbow. Keep the foot as lifted as you can. It's almost a little bit of pushing back with the elbow and pushing forward with the knee. And then lengthen it out. Back to your bird dog. And then sitting the right hand down, Set your left toes down, spin your left foot down, and you can angle your right foot out to the right as you come into this kind of a side angle on your knee. Just get a nice stretch into the side. Really reach through the fingertips, anchoring that back foot down nice and strongly. And then spin the hands down, bring the knees down, come on up to downward facing dog. All right, now in this down dog, let's lift the right leg up. Bend the knee, open up through the hip. Try to keep your left shoulder nice and lifted. Now, can you set your left elbow down on the floor and look underneath your right arm? Yeah, we still have this right leg bent. We're breathing. All right, and then see if you can come back up, lifting that left elbow. Set the hands down, set your right foot down. Other side, lift the left leg, bend the knee, open up through the hip. Keeping the shoulders equally lifted as we start here. And then I'm scooting the right hand forward to set the right elbow down a little bit. And I'm looking underneath my left arm. So I have moved my left hand out to the left a little bit so I could get a little better purchase. It helps me balance. I don't know what you're finding you need, but that's just something I'm doing. I'm not necessarily telling you. All right, and then look forward and lift the right elbow and set your right foot down. Okay, set both knees down wide, let your big toes touch. Bring your elbows down to the floor, right under the shoulders, hands to prayer, and then sit your sitting bones back toward the hips. And just from your elbows, take your hands and hinge them back to the back of your head. See if you can let your sitting bones get nice and heavy. All right, and then we'll release, bring the forearms down, lift your hips up. Now keep your forearms and your hands as they are, walk your knees into more of a hip distance width, and then we're gonna come right up into dolphin pose. So settle down through your chest a little bit, lift your knees up. So now you have both forearms on the floor. You can be a little more symmetrical about it. And then all the weight on your left foot, lift your right leg and keep the leg straight as you take the leg up toward the ceiling, spreading the toes. Now turn the right toes toward the floor to square the hips and set the right foot down. Other leg, lift the left leg. With the leg straight, open the hips, spread the toes, pushing the forearms and the elbows down and forward as you're lifting that leg. And then square the hips. Turn the left toes toward the floor. Woo! And set your left foot down. Set your knees down. Sit back in a child's pose with the arms wrapped around your side. So now you can relax your shoulders after you were just holding up all that weight. Feeling the effects of your practice. The gift of your breath, your heart beating. And then slowly bring yourself upright in your spine. You could bring your knees a little closer as you come a little closer to this Virasana position here. So sitting tall in spine. Okay, so now we're going to take a couple blocks. And the position of the blocks is going to be up to you. We're going to just kind of come into a squat, but we're going to use the blocks to support ourselves. So if you find that squatting is really challenging for you, you can also put perhaps a blanket underneath your heels, which it's hard to figure out how to position it. So let me just get a little bit clearer about this. So I'm going to put a blanket, fold it into a long rectangle so that I can elevate my heels first. Set my feet wide. And then I'm going to put the block back behind it in its vertical position. Turning my feet out, I'm just going to come down and put my sitting bones on the block like so. So we've got some support here for this squatting position. And just sit for a moment. See if you can find a way to balance on that. I know with the block on its vertical position, sometimes it's not so great, which may be a reason to kind of sister your block with the other one if you just feel like you need a little bit more support there. We'll see if we can do this with one. All right, now can you bring your hands to the floor inside of your legs? So we're it's almost like you're doing a forward facing happy baby, right? You're not on your back here, you're kind of coming forward. Walk your hands forward just a little bit. And then take a little bit of weight onto your right hand. You can let your right arm be close to the inner right leg and take your left arm up and twist. And then bring the left hand down, have the left arm in, kind of pressing against the inner leg, and take your right arm up and just give yourself a little twist here. And then bring the hands down. Now, if it feels comfortable to you, then we're going to tip forward and take the block out of the way. And then just let the sitting bones drop into kind of a full-on squat here. If it doesn't work for your knees, then you'll remain supported with the block, and that's perfectly fine. Yeah. So with the arms kind of just pressing out gently against the inner legs, let your hands kind of rest at heart center, or you could even let your forehead, your third eye rest right at the little space between your thumbs that you've created there. All right, now I'm going to release and bring the hands down. Now we have the option to do this kind of a bound version of the twist. So bringing the right arm in a little closer to that inner leg, I'm going to scoot forward and see if I can take the arm around the back of the leg. Take my left arm back behind, and can I clasp my fingers and turn and look to the left? And the answer may be absolutely not. So you might just keep your right hand on the floor and do the same thing, taking the arm up. Coming out of the pose when it feels like, okay, that's enough for me. And then we'll try the other side. So you want to kind of drop your left shoulder and scoot it forward so that you might be able to take the left arm back behind and then reach the right arm back and then see if the hands come together. This side's much more challenging because I have a tighter shoulder, right? So see how it is. Go to the other side. And then release and bring the hands down. Now lift your sitting bones, bring your feet to parallel, and take a forward fold here, and feel free to keep your knees bent because we haven't really done too much with the hamstrings yet, but just have a forward fold. You know, your heels are elevated, so let's pull the blanket out from underneath your heels and find your forward fold here. Just hanging out with it, feeling your legs opening up. All right, and then bending your knees. Go ahead and set your knees down on the floor. We're going to use the blanket for a little padding now and bring ourselves into the shape of a gate pose. So coming up to a more vertical spine after that. All of that kind of flexion, right? It's kind of nice to have the body in a more upright position here. Yeah. Great. So with the toes curled under, just take your arms up on an inhale. And then exhale and release and bring your hands into a clasp behind you. Lift your shoulder heads up and roll them back and see about lifting the hands up gently away from your low back. And as you do this, hug the midline with your knees a little bit, pulling the belly in and up. And take the arms out in front of you into a clasp. Push your palms out and forward, and then take your arms up and over your head. As the arms go up, does your body come forward? Can you stay in basically mountain pose on your knees as much as possible? Hug in towards your midline and then tip yourself over to the right. Strength in your core. And back to center. And tip over to the left. And back to center. Now bend the elbows out to your sides. Coming in your cactus position, pull the elbows back. Bring your sternum forward and try to tip it up as you kind of come into a bit of a back bend here. Now hugging the midline. Abdominal bracing, zip, zip, zip. Low belly, lower ribs, sides of the neck back. Pull the shoulders back. Now come back up to a vertical spine and bring your arms forward for eagle. So cross your right elbow over the left. Intertwining your arms. Pull the shoulder blades down your back, shoulder heads back a little bit. And just see what's available to you here as you stretch your shoulders. Now hug the midline with your knees and twist your torso to the right. It's nice to do this on your knees because it really keeps you stable in your lower body. When we're standing up, we have more mobility for the hips. When the knees are fixed on the floor, the hips pretty much have to stay there. So we really get the benefit of twisting, feeling that stretch underneath the left shoulder blade. And come back to center. Unravel your arms and just let your arms hang. Roll your shoulders a little bit. All right, back up to cactus arms. One more little back bend here. So pull elbows back, bring your chest forward, abdominal bracing, zip, zip, zip. Strong abdomen. See if there's a little more space to lean back. And then as you come back up, bring the arms forward and wrap the left elbow over the right. So Garudasana arms. Pulling the shoulder blades down the back, pulling the shoulder heads back. Hug your midline a little bit with your knees. Take an inhale. On your exhale, twist your torso over to the left a bit. Don't worry about the head, just let the head kind of go with the arms. You're not trying to turn your head back around behind you or anything like that. And come back to center. Unravel your arms. Okay, go ahead and bring your hands down to the floor. And let's take the right foot out to the right. So we're going to do a little threading of the needle. So taking the weight onto your right hand, take your left arm up. And then exhale, slide your left arm under your right, come down onto your left shoulder, the left side of the head, and bring your right arm back behind you. Slide the right hand around, maybe it finds its way into the left hip crease, rolling the right shoulder head back. We haven't done this for a while, but see if you can shift the weight onto your left shoulder and knee so much that you might be able to lift your right leg up. All right, and then set your right foot down. Release your right hand back to the floor and come back up. Let's go ahead and bring the right knee underneath and take the left foot out to the side. So finding your position here, taking the weight onto the left hand. Inhale, take the right arm up. Exhale, slide your right arm under your left and come down onto your right shoulder. The left arm is going to come back behind you right away. Maybe the hand finds its way into the opposite hip crease. If it just doesn't go, feel free to keep the hand on the hip, right? We all have different things going on, perhaps, in our shoulders. And then wherever you find the position for the hand, make the effort to pull the left shoulder head back. Now, can you shift all the weight onto the right shoulder and on the right knee? So much so that maybe the left leg lifts. And if you tumble over, just it's all in good fun, so to speak. And set the foot down. Release the left hand to the floor. Come back to your table position. Come on back up to vertical on your knees. Great. Okay. Take your right foot back out to the side. And then with the right hand on the right leg, take your left arm up and tip toward the leg. Come back up to vertical. Turn yourself toward your right leg and pick up the toes. You might have to reposition your left foot as you bring yourself forward into basically like a runner's lunge over your right leg. Bowing forward. Push down into your right heel, spreading the toes. Feel free to walk your left hand further forward. And breathing. All right, and then walk the hands back in. Let's bring the right knee underneath. Come back up to vertical. Take your left foot out to the side. Let's just, so you can feel moving the leg without having your hands on the floor, right? Yeah. All right, so left hand on the left leg, take your right arm up and tip towards your left leg. If it doesn't work for you, you might have to bring the leg a little further forward or just turn your body towards your leg if that just isn't working, right? Because of the relationship of the femur and the socket there. All right, now come on back up. Turn yourself towards your left leg, pick up the toes. And you might have to move the right foot out a little bit and come forward in your runner's lunge here. So pushing down into the heel, spreading the toes on your left leg. And if it works for you, walk that right hand further out. Breathing. All right, and then slide your hands back in. Great, bring both knees back down onto the blanket. Let's see where we are here. Okay, so we're gonna do a little Gomukhasana, so not the full-on pose, but the better part of it. So walk your knees pretty much right toward the middle of your blanket. And you're gonna cross your left knee over your right knee. So knee over knee. Just make sure your knees are supported on the blanket. And then spread your feet apart behind you as best you can. Walk your hands out in front. You can be up on the fingertips. And then sit back. You don't want your bottom to go right to the floor. You want to keep your hands far enough out in front so that the weight of the sitting bones settles back behind you. And you get a nice stretch in the hips. Breathing. Now, if you're not getting any stretch out of it, and by all means, you could bring your feet a little further forward, or you could sit your bottom back between your feet, anything that would help to bring you to the place where you would like to be practicing the pose. So then we're going to come on up and uncross your knees, and we'll go the other way. So right over left. I believe that's what we're doing, whatever the opposite is for you. And then spread your feet. So you have your shins kind of mirror image of one another with knee over knee, walking the hands forward again, and then sitting your bottom back between the heels. and just letting your bottom kind of hang out there in space with the hands glued down. So you feel some stretch in the back, some stretch in the hips. You just want to make sure you don't have anything going on in the knees that feels uncomfortable. Breathe into this and hang out with it for a few moments. Just another breath or two. All right, and then slide forward and go ahead and uncross the knees. Great. Okay, so we're going to move the blanket out of the way and grab your two blocks. We're going to take the two blocks. We're going to make an equal sign like this, and then you put them on your mat. So they're going, it's like a horizontal equal sign. And you're going to come down. The first block is going to come right to about the bra line height, as you all have done this with me a number of times. So as soon as you feel the edge of that first block, make sure that's right where you want it to be. And then you lay your head down on the other block and take your arms out into cactus position. So start with your knees bent and kind of push your feet isometrically forward so that it kind of pulls the back flesh down. And then scoot your shoulder blades in a little bit and just try to have that feeling of the shoulder blades being kind of tucked in underneath you there. And then take your legs down to the floor. Now, the only thing I want you to just be sure you are aware of is sometimes the position for the head is still such that the chin's going to be higher than the forehead. And if that's true, it's just because of tightness in the shoulders. So you might want to flip your block up on its edge just to take your head up a little bit higher. It just feels more comfortable for you. And we're all in different places, and there's no right or wrong. There's just what feels best to you and your body right now. And with the arms straight out in a T position, just let yourself feel this sense of kind of openness through the heart. And now while you're in this position, bring your attention to your breathing. And bring your attention specifically to how the breath is occupying space in your chest cavity. And be very, very observant as you inhale of how your body fills up. What happens? Can you feel the contact that your shoulder blades are making with that block underneath you? And how does that change? Does the pressure change of your back body into the block as you inhale? And then what happens with that as you exhale? Become aware of the side ribs on your body as you're breathing here. Can you feel that little sense of lateral breathing almost? Because when you have a fixed object under the back of the rib cage, you may feel like the sides of the ribs have to accommodate that a little bit because it's a little harder to feel the back body expand. So feel into your side ribs as you're breathing now. And then bring your awareness right to the front of your chest, sternum, thymus, front ribs. Feel for the bottom of your rib cage, just so you can kind of really feel that and then have a different picture of it in your mind's eye. So feel that whole bottom ridge of the rib cage with your fingers. And then just feel, with your fingertips, work your way up the sternum, kind of feel that. And just let your fingertips rest there and just take a few in breaths here. Does that move or change, or does it stay fairly stable as you feel the side ribs expand? And then take your fingertips up a little higher. So kind of right underneath, like 2 inches below the clavicle. Just let your fingers rest on your chest there. And then breathe and feel what happens there. And how is that different than the movement of breath you had when your fingers were more on your sternum? And then just go ahead and take your arms over your head if your shoulders will allow it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So with the arms overhead, take a hold of your right wrist and give it a pull. Breathing. And then take a hold of your left wrist and pull on it. Feeling your breath. And then release your arms out into kind of a relaxed cactus position. So your elbows are not at 90 degrees. They're a bit more of an obtuse angle than that. Backs of the hands resting on the floor as much as they can. And again, just bringing your awareness to your chest, your side ribs, your back ribs, and shoulder blades. Just observe them as you breathe. And you might even just fine-tune your awareness so much that you can feel what part of you moves first when you inhale. And what parts of you are a little slower to accept breath. Okay, just 1 or 2 more breaths here, and then we're going to move the blocks out of the way. All right, let's bend the knees. And then as gently as you can, roll to your side. Don't try to come straight up. And then bring yourself up to a seat. Then you can move your blocks out of the way. And let's come back to sitting on something soft. So grab your blanket again. Whatever you need to support your sitting bones and elevate your sitting bones a little bit. Great. All right, now close your eyes again and bring your awareness again to this part of your body. Your chest, your side ribs, and your back. It's really, especially right in the heart. Feel the difference between being upright, what gravity does with you in this position, versus
having those blocks underneath your back and laying in that position for quite a while, can you feel kind of the pull of gravity on your body and the difference, right? So what happens here now with your eyes closed, with your hands on your knees, as you're breathing? See, we're so used to being in this position without, having something hard underneath the middle of your back, that it's hard to fine tune your awareness. But I want you to fine tune your awareness just like we did with the block underneath, and see if you can figure out what part of your chest, your sternum, your side ribs, your back, what part of you moves first as you take an inhale. So just release all the breath and then take a breath. We're going to breathe slow and deeply. And I'm going to we're going to do this silently, so I want you to decide what rhythm that you would like to choose so that your in-breath is even with your out-breath. So I think in our practice, it was either yesterday or it was perhaps Tuesday, where we did the in-breath of 4, out-breath of 4, in-breath of 5, out-breath of 5, in-breath of 6, etc. But I want you to choose something that feels consistent and feels appropriate for you in this particular moment. So after doing all of the work that you've done, hopefully you're feeling like you could handle perhaps a breath that's maybe longer than 4 beats. So maybe you choose 5 or 6 or 7, or maybe you choose 8, right? But whatever it is, you want to try to have your in-breath and your out-breath be of equal length. And as you're breathing like this, try to observe, where do you feel sensation first in your chest cavity as you're breathing? So just try to stay in this observation and count your breath. Here we go. All right, so now just start to bring your attention back to the sound of my voice. And just note your own observations. First of all, did your mind wander? Did you go off to some other place? Perfectly normal if you did. And if you were able to make some observations about your breath, how was that? If you chose a longer breath pattern, did you notice that there was more movement and the pieces of the puzzle that started to move toward the end of the in-breath? Perhaps it was like, oh, there's that. Oh, that's kicking in, right? So it's really interesting when you choose a shorter breath. Your capacity for taking in breath may not be as great as when you're kind of pushing the envelope and taking that bigger count, right? So really interesting. So just noticing that, right? When you do this kind of practice, you are in the present moment. You're right here, right now, having the experience of your body until your mind starts to wander. But that's meditation, right? That's what we're doing all the time. So the more we practice this kind of thing, staying as present as we can, right, while we're doing this and observing specific things, it really helps us hone the skill of being present, being in the now, because it's in the now where the healing happens. And it's really, we have an opportunity to really make a huge difference in consciousness as we hone these skills for ourselves, right? So anyway, all right, friends. So we've got a few minutes to take Shavasana. So if you'd like to go ahead and lay down, we'll just take a 3 or 4 minute Shavasana here. And you can let your mind go. All right, so if you please bring your awareness now back to your body. And just note whatever it is that you're feeling. Body, mind, heart. Feel free to bring some movement back gently to your hands and your feet. And with deep care for yourself, take your time to roll to your side and come back on up to your seat. And Om Shanti, Namaste.